Assalamualaikum class. Today again we will discuss direct and indirect speech. Since in the first lecture we discussed what direct and indirect speech is, and in the second lecture we discussed the rules regarding the sentences when we change the direct into an indirect speech. We learned about the change of tense. We learned about the change of pronouns. We learned about the change of adverbs, right? How do they get changed when you change a sentence of a direct into an indirect speech, right? So in today's lecture, we will discuss the rules regarding changing interrogative sentences into indirect speech, right? So interrogative sentences are those sentences which are used to ask questions, like you use words like who, where, what, how. These are some of the words which are used to ask questions, right? And the questions are asked within interrogative sentences. And in a direct yes no question, the question is changed into a statement, right? If a sentence is if a sentence is in interrogative or it asks a question, when you change that interrogative sentence into an indirect sentence, the first change is that it would be changed into a statement, right? And the reporting verb is changed into ask, inquire, and connective if or whether is used, right? So reporting verb is changed into ask or inquire, and instead of that, if or whether is used, and remaining changes will be like statements, like the tense change will be the same, the pronoun and the verb change will be the same, right? So let's take the example. She said to him, are you writing a poem? She, are you writing a poem? This is a yes no question. And she asked him, because we said we already have described that the reporting word would be changed into asked or inquired, and instead of using that we would be using if and whether, right? So she said to him would be changed into she asked him, and if we remove the comma and the inverted commas, the connective if would be used if he was writing a poem, right? The second example is, I said to her, do you know this person? I inquired her whether she knew that person, right? So this is how the interrogative sentences are changed into indirect speech, right? And in case of question words like who, how, where, what, whose, which, why, whom, etc., same words are used as a connective in the reported speech, right? In case of yes no questions, you use if or whether, and the reporting verb is changed into ask or inquire. However, here in case of WH questions, the reported words are or the same words are used as connectives. Right? For example, where do you live? She asked Mina. She asked Mina. Again, we said that where, who, and what, that would be used as a connective, right? So where again here is used as a connective. She asked Mina where she lived, right? No if whether is used, no that is used, but WH word is used as a connective in WH sentences or WH interrogative sentences. He said to UV, how do you write poems? He asked UV how he wrote poems, right? This is how the interrogative change, how the direct interrogative change into indirect sentences, right? So let's move on with the imperative sentences. And imperative sentences are used to request, they are used to order something, or they are used when you advise someone, right? Like I said to him, take your seat. This is an imperative sentence, right? Because take your seat, this is an it can be a command, it can be a request, right? So I advised him to take his seat, right? And to would be used here as the connective here is to, and again statement would be used here. You would be using reporting verbs such as advised or requested, ordered, commanded, right? He said to Nina, give me some food please. He requested Nina to give him some food, right? So this is how the imperative sentences get changed when you change them into indirect speech, right? So the general changes are, in imperative sentences, reporting verb is changed into order, advise, request, or ask. And there is no change of tense. The connective to is put as an infinitive, right? So you can see here, to is used here as a connective. There is no change of tense, and the reporting verb is changed into advised and requested here in these two examples, right? So this is how the imperative sentences get changed. And these are some of the examples that have been shared with you again. And let's move on with the exclamatory sentences. Exclamatory sentences are those sentences which express joy or your feelings or your emotions, right? And they end up with an exclamatory mark, right? So the exclamation is changed into a sentence when you change a direct exclamatory sentence into an indirect one, right? And the general rules are: in exclamatory sentences, reporting verb is changed into exclaimed with joy, sorrow, anger, or surprise, right? And connective that is used, exclamatory symbols are removed, and sentence will be changed into statement. Since exclamatory sentences have sign of exclamation, that is changed into a full stop, because a sentence or a statement has been made when we change a direct into an indirect speech, right? And the reporting verb is changed into exclaimed with joy, or exclaimed with sorrow, exclaimed with anger, or exclaimed with surprise, etc. Right? Again, here the connective is that will be used. And let's take the example. He said, "How beautiful a place." He exclaimed with joy that it was a very beautiful place. Right? Rohan said, "Hurrah, we have won the match." Rohan exclaimed happily that they had won the match. Right? So this is how the reporting verb is changed, exclaimed with joy. Again, connective that is used, and the tense and the tense also gets changed, and sign of exclamation is changed into a full stop or a period, right? Let's move on with the second example. Alas, exclaimed with sadness, regret, or disappointment when you use it like. And the direct speech is: the reporter said, "Alas, many lives have been lost due to tsunami." And the indirect speech would be: the reporter exclaimed sadly. The alas would be omitted, right? Because we have already stated that the emotions will be omitted when we change a direct into an indirect speech. So the reporter exclaimed sadly that many lives had been lost due to tsunami, right? And may you, is how it would be changed. The grandmother said her, "May you meet with success wherever you go." The grandmother blessed her that she would meet with success wherever she goes. Right? So this is how the exclamatory sentence will change when they are changed from a direct into an indirect uh, statement or speech, right? So students, here are some of the summary of the changes. Change in said to, reporting verb is changed into. In affirmative sentences it is changed into told. In interrogative it is changed into asked or inquired. In imperative it is changed into order or requested or advised, right? And in exclamatory sentences it is changed into, the reporting verb is changed into exclaimed with joy or wished or begged, right? So the connective uh, that is used differently in different type of sentences. Like in affirmative sentences we use that as a connective. In interrogative we use if or whether, and in imperative we use do, and in exclamatory sentences we use that, right? And change in sentences, how they are changed. The affirmative, they take only change of tense, change of pronoun, change of time and place, right? And the interrogative, they are how they are changed in, they are changed into assertive sentences, or they are changed into statements. And then again there is change of TP. T is for tense, P is for pronoun, T is again for time, and P is for place, right? And in imperative, again, time, pronoun, time, and place, they do get changed. And in exclamatory, interrogative to assertive, and again there is change of tense, pronoun, time, and place, right? So students, here are some of the direct and indirect speech for your practice. Like, "I live in Paris," that is a direct speech, and how it would be changed into indirect. He said that he lived in Paris, right? "I'm cooking dinner." He told me that he was cooking dinner. "I have visited London twice." He told me that he had visited London twice. "I went to New York last week." He told me that he had gone to New York the week before. "I had already eaten." He told me that he had already eaten. Right? Be quiet. He ordered me to be quiet. Why are you doing this? He asked me why I was doing this. Right? These were some of the practice sentences for your practicing of direct and indirect speech. And students, some of the sentences have been shared with you, and do try to change them into indirect speech. The first sentence is: the air hostess said the hijackers tried to frighten the passengers. The second sentence is: the captain said to his men, stand at ease. The third sentence is: she said to the Nina, do you believe in ghosts? The fourth and the second and last statement is: the principal says rules have to be followed at any cost. And the fifth and the last one is: the boys said, hooray, our team won. Right? So, students, since we are done with direct and indirect speech, and we are done with the brief introduction of direct and indirect speech, and we are done with the changes that take place when we change a direct into an indirect speech, and then we did some practice with interrogative sentences, we did some practice with imperative and exclamatory, as well as with interrogative, exclamatory, and imperative sentences, as well as assertive statements as well, right? So, students, with this lecture, this direct and indirect comes to an end. I hope you have understood it well. Students, the more you practice, the more you will get it, right? So, best of luck, and with it, this lecture comes to an end.